Well, cue the music now. Now I want everybody to take a good long look at this sort of situation we're in. I left YouTube for nearly a month and a half for situations like this. Now, one of the things I'm absolutely going to disclose to the people who are interested in this, then I will, because I'm letting people know on pretty much all of my channels about this. Because whether people like it or not, I just simply have to decide first and foremost that I've got to know exactly what I'm doing and that the decisions I make are absolutely my own and I'm more than free to do that. I know these things really shouldn't go without saying, and I'm not stalling the time just to try and gather an audience. I know this is all going out live, but it's one of those things where if I could actually hear myself saying these things, then I know that it's not just something that's going on in here. It's something I can openly discuss about. So let's get straight to it. The reason why I came back and the reason why I came back a little bit earlier than I had anticipated. Now, here's the thing. I was planning on returning roughly in the beginning of July. But the reason why I've come back a little bit earlier than planned is for the following reasons. I applied for a green card from American Green Card Services, and yesterday I received a phone call from the U.S. Immigration Office saying that I had been approved and accepted. So basically, what they all suggested is that I have the span of about 4 years to actually move to the US to work because that's what I said I was going to do when I was on the phone with the people from the office because they had to explain to me about how the US they were openly pining for people from the UK to come over. In fact, they even told me that the some of the countries that didn't even make the cut were Canada, of all places, literally to the north. And Canada is somewhat off the top list as far as they were concerned. So, what does this all mean, ladies and gentlemen? Is that ideally they said that I could, if I wanted to move, but I didn't do it in 4 years, I would have to try again. So I would be in my 30s if I was going to go for the second time round, and it never came to be. So here's how I wanted to go down. I want to be able to actually move to the US in 12 months. So in order to do that, in order to go there and work. But here's the thing: where I want to actually move to, I want to move to Lincoln Valley in California. Now, the reason California specifically is because outside of the fact that because of how widespread California is, and I sort of wanted to move like to because like Lincoln Valley is about like 30 miles east of Sacramento. Is that it would sort of be in the sort of it sort of would be a little bit closer to Los Angeles, but it was an idea of how I could communicate and work with a lot of content creators out there in the states in that sort of prime location, as it were. Not to mention, for reasons that involve my day job, there are plenty of places in California where I'll be able to work and do all that good stuff. So it means that basically I'm going. I want to be able to move to California to get more experience. Well, not just get more experience in actually doing the things I do for my day job, but also to work with a larger selection of people that I've really wanted to work with, and it all kind of just makes sense at this point because at this stage of my life, I feel like I've got to like really take the bull by the horns. And I say that, but literally just saying all this and even looking at the camera, I can even see without even people needing to tell me is that I can see the outline of my scalp just looking at the camera. Well, conversely, looking at the at my monitor, you can like see like the outline of like my head and stuff like that. My hair is not like my hair was probably is has never really been that thick, But it's a bit of a scary reminder, ladies and gentlemen, is that one day probably all this will be gone. My hair will be gone, and probably my youth will probably be going with it. I mean, like I said before, I'm 26 years old. I'm not getting any younger, and I've got to be able to seize the moment, seize what is a fantastic opportunity. Now, it's all well and good. I mean, I've had to like talk it out with a lot of people as well, um, and they seemed to like they understood why, the purposes, the practicalities, and of course the potential for work. There's a lot of reasons that there's a lot of there's a lot of people reasons agree with me about why it might be within my interests to actually do this. There are, however, some immediate drawbacks. First of all, the US does not have national health. That's kind of always been a bit of an issue when it comes to thinking about going. So basically, to compensate for that, then to compensate for the fact that I'll probably need to get a car by the time I get to the US, and whether or not I will need to like sort of do do like a couple of like driving lessons in the US because, well, they keep to the right in the US compared to the left here in the UK. There's that to consider. There's probably trying to get a place of my own. Now, I have considered the idea of like flat sharing with that, but that's contingent on whether or not people are looking for roommates, and well, how much space would I sort of like get to set up my stuff? Because pretty much I would have to like get like a whole new like computer, a whole new setup, basically to create a home away from home, like kind of like what I have now, except all the way on the other side of the planet. So there's all those things to consider. Then you've got to consider the notion, the very bizarre one at that is the fact that, well, um, how I would have to keep alive and basically learn to completely live by on my own, and with no real family to speak of in the US. It would all come down to basically trying to integrate myself into society, into American society, I should say. Now, that might be a little bit hard. No, it's not necessarily difficult, but it's just knowing how to do it, and there's just finding the right people. There's a lot of people out there. Oh, hang on a minute. Also, I almost forgot Noah was involved when the idea guys started the extortion because Anna refused to help out at all, and Greene County Sheriff declined the case, saying what Chris did was their choice. Oh, that's I mean, I might have to like think that over in my mind about whether that is possibly true. Um, Damn, maybe it probably was. Yikes! Yeah, yeah. I mean, if that is true, I don't. It probably was, maybe. So yes, then of course there is the much more difficult, pressing issue about what is all of this going to cost. Now, as far as I can work out, taking what I believe I've covered all the bases as a whole, the sum total I would have to make in 12 months to be able to move to the US, to be able to get a place of my own, to get a car, to get a setup, to pay for insurance, pay for new clothes, pay for everything I need to cover my expenses. And if I would ever, like, I don't know, suffer like a broken arm, or I need to go to a hospital or something like that, then as far as I can work out, the sum total of all of this would come to what I am estimating $80,000. Yes, that is the measure of the task that is set before me, ladies and gentlemen. In 12 months, I've got to essentially make $80,000, which is roughly £69,000 in 12 months. That's what I'm deciding that is what it's going to be. And well, we run into the issue of having to do all this in 12 months. Now, let's try and break this down one step at a time as to whether or not you're not wrong. It's a lot of money. And well, but here's the thing, and I'm gonna like put this to you guys very, very quickly. Now, few things are probably going to be emphasized. Now, first of all, it's probably likely I'll be paid off my day job tomorrow because tomorrow is Friday and the last day of June falls on Sunday. And in the past, I just get paid whatever the last day of the month of the day of the month is. So it's probably most likely going to be Friday, maybe Saturday at the latest, as far as I can work out. So there's that. So I'm getting paid anyway. First of all, that's like the first thing anyway. So that's just like what it is. But then, no, that doesn't really cover any of it. But there are things I have thought about. The first is that if I'm going to be going to the US and during the day I am going to be, if I'm going to be doing my stuff in my day job, then it simply means what I've kind of always known. Hello there, Rita. How are you? What I sort of knew all along is that I have got to be the single best candidate for what I do for my day job so that if I was to go to the US, even they would be looking at my resume and would be going, actually, he's probably our first pick. I'm not saying like there's going to be bias or any. There might be bias. I genuinely would not know, when it varies from state to state, state to state. Have you ever played a game called Fart on a Bear? I Ironically, I use like Opera GX, the internet browser, which gives you updates about games. I've never heard of that one. I've heard of something there, but probably not that one. Thank you very much, anyway, Dylan. That's really nice. Thank you for the input there. So, yeah, that's the thing as well. So I would have to basically be so good at what I do that actually the US would be looking at me and possibly thinking that's quite impressive. But of course, I can always try at other places where I'm specialized in and see what goes on there. It's not end of the world stuff, but it is something I'm going to have to consider because the $80,000 line is that in case of emergencies, that was something I was going to have in the back of my mind. Maybe it's possible I could make more than that realistically before I even think about moving, but it's something to consider at the end of the day. Other things aside, it's simply one of those cases where I knew what I'm going to have to do now before anything else, and that is become famous on the internet. As far as I can work out, that is going to be, and it went from something I was aspiring to something that is going to have to be almost a priority. From the dozens of YouTube channels that I own, run, and operate, I'm going to have to somehow make sure that those things actually take off and that I become something of like a stable and something that, again, when I would like drop a video and it gets like 5,000 views every single day and stuff like that, that's the kind of sort of figures I sort of want to be looking at, because the idea is that if I produce more stuff and make more money from that sort of thing, then that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be a case of me trying to put stuff out there, then people will see it, and then I get talked about more. And it's it's basically one of those cycles where I would have to build up a reputation through what I do and by getting my stuff out there. It's At this point, it's basically what it is. Because previously, I just do YouTube because I love the idea of broadcasting. I love the idea of putting something out there for people to see and to learn something from. Now it's become a matter of doing it because it's also going to be. This is basically, as far as I'm concerned, my second job. It's what I am just going to have to do, and it's something that I'm going to have to make sure works for the benefit of the long future, because you never really know what the future holds. So I have to keep all of my options open. I have to keep working as hard as I can, because bear in mind, it's, again, I would be in a completely different space. California is nothing going to be anything quite like living in here in the Northeast. When Chris made the attraction sign was meant to get rid of his virginity and a woman who financially supports him and his and in mothering, which I'm not surprised. It doesn't surprise me that at all whatsoever. You want to know why it doesn't surprise me that that's the objective? Is because Chris has no Chris. These are, it's like one of those things why I consider myself like incredibly. a lot of people are so different from Chris is that Chris does not have the benefit of deciding to use his own initiative to actually try and do something to better himself or better his cause for the things he cares about. I mean, just yesterday, I posted a video where I basically denounced Guy Beam, aka Doctor Disrespect, because of the revelations that came out, and I've been following Doctor Disrespect since 2018. And after seeing all those things, I was universally disgusted, and so I decided to literally sever watching him ever again. And I just wanted to make him know that I was furious, but more than anything, I was extremely disappointed because what on earth possesses somebody to do that? Why do that? That just it doesn't make any sense. But at this point, he's made his decision, he's made his bed, he's going to have to lie in it. And well, that's how it is. I despise people like that. So meanwhile, yes, maybe I could turn into the next Charlie, or who was the guy on the I know Moist. I could probably turn into the next Moist Critical for all I know. I mean, listen, I love Moist Critical as well, and he's sort of one of those guys that actually I would have a lot of time for. And if the day comes, I would actually love to do a video with Moist Critical because I reckon we could probably have a lot to talk about and a lot of ways of like interacting off each other. It's similar to what was it, Internet AJ. I wish that guy would come back. I love the stuff that he did back in the day. I know he's probably got other prospects in mind, but you know what? I like who here is watching this who remembers Internet AJ, because he probably covered a lot of lolcows and absolute psychos that absolutely I cannot wait to start talking about as well. Because let me tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna like lay you guys in on something that I wish I didn't have to bring up, but it was one lolcow in particular that I just really have to like mention because I absolutely like. It's only now that I've started to think about it in more detail that I cannot believe that this even happened. That's really have. Thank you, by the way, Snowstorm. Tell me how many of you guys have ever heard of a YouTube? Well, no, YouTube is probably putting it lightly. Who here has ever heard of a guy called Justin RPG? You don't have to say you do, by the way, because trust me, by the time I finish telling you guys who he is, you'll probably wish you didn't know who he was either. But to put it very simply, Justin RPG is you're actually the first person I've seen on the spectrum who read the quickie publicly. I'm autistic, and I'm happy that not all of us online act like screaming lunatics. Well, Rita, thank you very much, by the way. That's I'm glad to hear that. But it's also one of those things where, guess what? I'd say 90%, 99% of just learning how to behave in the real world or online is basic common sense. And I'm usually quite hesitant about using phrases like common sense whatsoever because it always brands on the line of like trying to insult people. Like I've had people many times who just tried who said to me like it's simple, use your common sense, and I'm like, oh really, is that what I should have used? Right, okay, so now you're trying to tell me that I couldn't fathom common sense even if I chose to do that. Right, okay, it's and again, this will be like situational on some day. I know I'm dragging this out, but there was one time about 2 weeks ago, I did 3 whole hours on a stint on a job before I was allowed to go on my first break because we were understaffed, and I probably would have been sat there all day before we had some sort of backup. And towards like the end of my shift, it's basically devolved into that. Just use your common sense. And I was just I was like stood there thinking to myself, Okay, just okay, before you go into anything like that, are you really sure? Like, do you have any idea what I've had to like? I've had how much I've had to pull today, just to help guys like you, and that's what it comes to. I mean, it's just why? What's the point in all that? I mean, living in California would take some time and some other things, like you said, and well, such as finding a house and well, and other things. Yeah, that's I think probably what the best course of action would be is to like get the 80 make the $80,000 and then start like messaging out to people and then looking for places to live, house sharing, then also probably getting a job and then finally doing everything else that needs to. Because ideally, once I get to $80,000, making more money should be basically second nature. I sort of almost want to be one of those guys where I'm like making at least 400. I mean, I'm going to grab my calculator out and we can do it like this. I know you guys won't be able to see this, but okay, let me let's put it like this. Okay, so $80,000. So let's say $80,000 a year, so we divide that by 365. So taking that is as a whole, I would have to make approximately $219 and 18 cents a day. Um well, 80K a year on YouTube slash my day job slash like doing like freelance stuff because you have to one thing I have to like mention as well is that I could always just like lend out a lot of my lighting equipment, my cameras, a lot of my green screens and all that, and basically there's like a lot of things I could do to actually use to like just run like a maybe a small like a little photography sort of thing. And listen, there's practicalities, there's making the use of what you do, and then of course I have like the whole Adobe Creative Cloud programming and stuff like that. So there are other ways of doing it, like doing stuff on Photoshop, making things on After Effects, Adobe Animate, and putting all that stuff on YouTube as well. It's not necessarily as hard as it sounds, but realistically, if we say, oh, I don't know, maybe if I made, like, say, 40,000 on YouTube and maybe 40,000 on my day job, or just through through side hustling, like again through lending out my cameras and lending out my lighting and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly, life finds a way. There are absolutely legitimate ways around this, and I plan to keep that going. So $219 and 18 cents a day is basically what I have to do. Now, one of the things I could suggest, and again, this is a bit of a long shot, but stay with me, guys. Um, I know that they're looking for contestants on the UK version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire again. I mean, it will be roughly about like the sixth time I've applied for it, and really, I only apply for it when it comes up because if for no other reason, I'm more determined to get on it and to do well during this period. But it doesn't mean to say it's not the worst idea ever. I mean, somebody, it's sometimes it's a matter of just having just a little bit of luck. And there are people who are like lucky in a sense, but they're also sorry about this, guys. There's like some sort of fly has just as descended into my room, and I've got to like try and well get it out of here and stuff like that. So as I was saying, there are probably other ways around this, and well, I'm not entirely sure to suggest about what other things I could do. I mean, I have well this up here that I could consider like selling on. I mean, this was it's an entire like wall mounted plaque of like signed by Sir David Jason. And God forbid the day when David Jason is no longer with us, things like that could like escalate in price quite steeply and stuff like that. But ideally, I want to keep this thing for many, many years anyway, so I'm not planning on selling it anytime soon. So we can leave that alone for now. That really is quite a lot of work for everything. Like, if I had the money for editing software and other things, it takes a lot of time to get into that. And I would be on Where Fortune would be Wheel of Fortune. I mean, you're not wrong. It's not. It's not like it hasn't. It's not the sort of thing that comes in. They say there is nothing easier to get in this world than money. And bear in mind as well, even if I was all the way in, maybe I don't even need to go as far as California. But what about um if I open my doors to, let's say, editing videos for people? Like, I was an absolute, like, I could get credited as like a video editor and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, maybe a long shot, but I know that guys like KSI and Jinxie aren't in California. But let's just say, I don't know, like Pokimane or something like that was in California, and she needed somebody to like edit a video for her. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, hello. Is this Chubby Frank? Yes. Hello. I'll have to play both. Hello. Is it possible you'll be able to like edit a video for me and stuff like that? I'll drop it around on a USB stick later tonight. Would you be able to do it? Oh yeah, sure, Pokey. Absolutely. I would love to do that. I saw your services. Is it literally going to be only about like 20 bucks to be able to edit it? Yeah, it's more or less something like that. It's like 20 bucks for every 30 minutes. Oh, okay, so it will only be around like 10 bucks for something like that. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, thank you. And do you want me to make a thumbnail for it as well? Oh, I didn't even know you made thumbnails for it. Oh yeah, actually I do. Yeah, I can do it. I can, for an extra like $3, we'll throw that in as well. Oh, that'll actually be quite nice. Do I get credited for editing as well? Oh yeah, absolutely. You get credited for editing and the thumbnail. Oh yeah, and will you share on like Instagram? I'll make sure to like, blah blah blah. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that even if like the validity for people who do that sort of thing in the state of California is even as high as that, there would be people who would be able to share it through like Google Drive and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily as bad as it sounds. And when you have that sort of that maybe that sort of reach, and maybe by even that point the reputation this sort of brings might be something but in itself, I've got to consider, well, maybe I could do that before I even get all the way to California. I mean, there's no guarantee saying it'll work, but there is some indication that maybe it's not as a bad idea as it sounds. But in other cases, what I do for my day job might actually cover a lot of this as well, because it's the sort of thing where if you do well, you knuckle down and you know the ropes and stuff like that, you could get the satisfaction of being tipped. And here's the thing as well. I know a lot about the like tipping culture, mostly by how different the practice is in where I work. But in the state of California, that sort of thing is incredibly different. I mean, if all goes well, because I know that Americans are actually quite fond of tipping, but how exactly like would that translate if like people knew who I was like through stuff on YouTube? I mean, it's something I suppose I can add, and maybe something that can generate a bit of interest. But if there, listen, where there's a will, there's a way, and there's lots of things to suggest. I always had an interest in lolcows, mostly to show me how not to act online. However, in order to become a true lolcow, you basically have zero self-respect for yourself and others. That's very, very applicable. I don't disbelieve that for 1 second, but they it's you really have to like go far and all that to just say you're completely done with caring whatsoever, because I'm very against the idea and thinking that people just don't care, period, about anyone or anything, because they do. They have a lot of time and interest in themselves. They are very People like that are very, very self-indulgent. But they've got to know is that they are becoming famous for all the wrong. That's like the thing they are famous for all the wrong reasons. The reasons they don't want to become famous. One second, guys. So I have to like. I'm not letting this. I'm not going to be able to sleep until this thing is dead. Honestly, where is this thing? I feel like this is going to turn into an early IShowSpeed video by the time I'm done killing this thing. Found it. No, it's still there. It's still there. It's still there. It's still there. Right, okay, that's it. Only one thing. Oh, only one thing for it. Sorry, guys, I don't want to have to do this, but I'm gonna have to do it. Oh, where is? Well, there it is. Actually, it's right there. Where is the little bugger? Critical and really great. Oh god. Okay, I think I've just about killed it. Yeah, that's gotta do it. If that thing is still alive somewhere down the line, I'll make sure to obliterate it forever. So, sorry, where were we? Sorry, where were we? That would be a great idea. Also, I heard of Critical. He's really great, and well, he would expose awful users and minors who attack innocent users in a pretend community by names I won't mention. Because, for example, if you have a friend who has a short temper, it's best to have the control and exploit it. And the worst is the people faking depressions who hate people like those. I even remember like seeing this like towards YouTubers like IShowSpeed in a video where he's just like eating spaghetti and he's like genuinely like over the moon and very, very ecstatic. But I also like to imagine that's just sort of like Speed's personality and just how he just enjoys life and he's just got so much like air in his lungs and that sort of thing is like really, really cool. But sort of getting a little bit back to Justin RPG for a second. I never thought I would have to say that in a video before, but well, here it is. So Justin RPG, to my knowledge, is somebody who specializes in fetishizing a thing called vor. Now, if you don't know what vor is the practice of where you fantasize about being eaten or eating of being eaten is sort of how we're going to do it. I believe how the phrase goes, and Justin RPG has fantasies of him being eaten by large Pokemon. In particular, the legendary Pokemon Reshiram from Pokemon Black. Yes, and Justin, like, Justin RPG doesn't just say like how he dreams of being eaten by Reshiram. Is that Justin RPG goes like really above and beyond in how much he likes it. He does illustrations of like him standing beside Reshiram. He talks about like being inside Reshiram's stomach. He talks about like he did like some albums or something like that about how Reshiram is his girlfriend and how he's going to be eaten by her or something like that. It's very strange and it's very absurd. Now, I think there was also some like trolling involving like Justin RPG and stuff like that, but I didn't really know what I could find at that point because I found the whole thing just it kind of stops. The thing with Justin RPG is it kind of stops and starts when you know about what his Alfondo, hi fam. Hello, Alfondo. It's like I said, it kind of stops and starts when you know about the thing he likes. And I'm not prepared to say that, Justin is right or wrong for what he likes and dislikes. There is an argument to be said that Justin isn't doing anything wrong and stuff like that. Glad to see you joining us as well, Alfondo. Thank you. But there is also a case to say the fact that one of the things that Justin does is that he goes onto like Facebook posts and will post about his love for Reshiram, whether it's warranted or not. And that's the sort of thing that annoys a lot of people anyway when people just plug things that are completely unwarranted on social media anyway. Like it could be a discussion about like a national tragedy, and Justin RPG will be talking about Reshiram. It could be a talk about some very famous birthday, and Justin RPG will be talking about Reshiram. There could be something that is extremely sensitive and something that really people on the internet really shouldn't be, but they will to talk about however they want. And Justin RPG will be there too and discussing Reshiram. And and that's the thing as well. I kind of like came to the epiphany about Justin RPG is that his he's just kind of boring. I mean, it's not boring by the fact that he doesn't do anything hilariously bad, but outside of his music. But we'll get to that. But then, just what exactly does he gain from any of this? You know what I'm trying to say is that really does Justin actually really enjoy the notion about being eaten? Is that really like Justin? I'm not going to say Justin is a simple-minded has been or anything like that, but does he have like any other like ambitions in life outside of wanting to be eaten by a Pokemon? Is that all like Justin could aspire to be? I mean, I'm not prepared to say that's like you need to have an aspiration. You need to have something like that. And well, someone eating someone whole is extremely impossible and scientifically impossible. And I have literally haven't a clue. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Is that it doesn't even see for something like that. What is there other than being swallowed whole by Reshiram? Well, I'm pretty sure like Justin has a thing for like other huge Pokemon as well, but for some reason it's Reshiram specifically and stuff like that, which is well, to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that Reshiram was mentioned at all, I would have like completely have stopped focusing on the idea of Reshiram of Pokemon anyway, because I know he's probably may have mentioned like Arceus at one point, but I couldn't care less. It's the thing as well is that just I'm not prepared to say Justin is trying to like get a rise out of people by saying that look at me, look how much I love this thing and all that. But I think just what is the point in trying to like make any sort of discussion about Justin? Is it? I mean, he doesn't really have any sort of like rise, and he hasn't done anything like despicable, I suppose. Justin is, to be honest, he's only really a hazard to himself, not really other people that are hazardous towards him. Because I'm pretty sure it would be hard to get their way around Justin's little finger. but I also don't really think it's even worth that either because I don't really think Justin. Justin is he is sort of like one of those things where just whatever, it doesn't matter. He's not really hurting anybody, or we need to get people involved and stuff like that. So Justin just sort of like he doesn't live rent free in people's minds. He lives at quite a high price, and you don't really have to like think about it for too long. I make comics that have an overarching story for shy people to enjoy because I care about quality of the stories and helping others with their problems. I like that actually, and I don't know if you ever think about like sharing your stories and stuff like that, but it's something that if you were like there's got to be like a point in which I'll be able to like do a channel in which I like talk about stories and stuff like well actually like read stories and that sort of thing. That would be pretty interesting. Just it's just not because it's like the first time I've ever done that, but only because like people may have said before that I have the sort of voice that they kind of like to have in the background, which I suppose that's one way of getting out there is just making yourself heard and letting people hear your voice and those sorts of things just come about naturally. I mean, 90% of the things I do are pretty much unscripted anyway. So a lot of these rely on past experiences, what I know, and why and what they are relevant towards. Like, what do they mean to the conversation? Do they add anything? Do they take away from anything? There's give and take some things there. So that's going to be pretty interesting to come about. So I'm sort of just going to sort of like bring this thing to a close, but I'll just say this just before we go. Like I said, let's call this $220 a day is somehow what I've got to make. Now, at the moment, I would say I'm probably making just about like say $93 a day if I'm being completely and utterly genuine about this. So maybe in some ways it's probably even possible to even get to this time next year on making at least maybe 28 or possibly even $25,000. But that's probably not even going to be anywhere near close either. If for in order for this to work, I've got to really pull my finger out and actually really put together something that people are going to see, people are going to enjoy, people are going to come back to time and time again. Something that can influence just what I do, and something that people are going to come back for. So that's really what it's going to be about. And well, as I said before, um, just about trying to become famous is something that's becoming a priority. So, well, here it is. And well, there are other ways of becoming famous on the internet without causing, chaos and anarchy. It hasn't been proven 100% successful in the past, but what can you do? And with all that being said and done, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming and chilling with us and hanging out. And there's probably going to be a lot more of stuff like this, but well, you guys are going to see for yourselves exactly what sort of things we'll be getting up to. And I cannot wait to sort of you guys again in the next video. Take care and bye bye for now. Just what I tell you before you go, I look forward to your content during 2020 and became a temporary touchstone for my mental health. Oh, that's actually that's no, that's actually genuine. That's actually very sweet, Alfondo. Thank you so much. Wow, that's actually kind of it. That's very interesting as well. Hey, maybe there's something more to it than at first sight. Maybe something even a bit more special, perhaps. And bear in mind, you can't put a price on things that are special. So there's that too. Okay, take care, and I'll see you later, guys.